Hi and welcome back. Today I'm just hanging out here doing a little hand sanding. I got one up. I spent a fair amount of time here today cutting up my sandpaper where I can get to it. Get my little flat sanding planes right there. So, and this, I'm gonna start out on flip on this knife right here, and nice little drop point there, a little angled in, and there won't be no grinding today. I might come back later on once I hand sand down just a little bit and maybe grind a clef on this top right here. Maybe I hadn't decided yet. So, and I believe this knife is, it's either 1095 or 01. Evidently I didn't mark it. So anyway, I'm gonna get to hand sanding, and I'll go up through the grits, and the way my grits go or with let's see, I do an 80, 120, 150, 220, and a 400. Unless I'm doing a $125 knife, which this one is not. And then I stop at 220. I don't go any further than 220 with them. And a good slick 220 finish works. It looks okay. But I'm not going to put the extra time into it because, you could make a 125 knife into anything you want to. The knife, the basic knife steel, it's been heat treated, cold treated, tempered exactly the same. All of them's the same when they do that. Whether I'm doing a $125 knife or a $600-700 one. So every one of them gets the same steel treatment. So anyway, it's all about the finish, the handle material, and the sheath and everything else, and that goes in, and the accessories that goes with it. And so, but anyway, the knives get finished, the metal gets finished the same up to the hand until it gets to hand sanding. Then it's when everything stops and goes off on its own tangent. So let me get over here on it and show you how I go about it. Let's see, zoom in a little bit. So okay, and okay, hopefully that kicked off good. This one's a small or a used piece of 80 grit for right. Scale on there, so just take it. this sit right here fairly flat. When it gets all gone, then I will know it. And okay, that piece was wore out when I picked it up. So, and yes, the filings or the sandings off this will absolutely dry your hands out. That's the reason I've got this out here. Do that so that you get done, you rub that on there. There it is. Get all my ducks in a row one day, so I can get this plunge line put in right there. Hand sanding will go a lot faster if you take it and go across and do a crosshatch pattern with it, like that. And you can see all your previous scratches. When you take care of these scratches, and you could no longer see them except for all you see is these, then you can move on. That just and any straight line scratches, big ones. Hopefully this camera overhead will see this, I hope, and get that. I can get them out of there, but the belt's going to leave great big vertical scratches in it. Like I said, you don't have to have any of what I've got. Well, this makes it awful nice, but hand sanding. But you don't need a belt grinder or drill press or anything else like that. You can make a knife with a hacksaw and a file and a little bit of sandpaper. I've done it. I've done it along. Hand file the bevels in. So, yeah. It takes forever. When I first started out, I made some knives out of 1/4 inch thick knife steel. I don't know why I thought I had to have it once that blame thick, but I did. And made them a full 1.5 inches wide. So, and done a fairly high bevel. You know, left it like this one right here, up real high. And so yeah, it takes forever to do that. So, and I got some 184, 157.157, and that went pretty quick on hand sand. On filings and hand sand. But I still kept them like an inch and a half thick. Or wide. I don't know why I done that, but I did. Now, I like them about an inch and between an inch and a quarter, an inch and 3/8 to a max, like to an inch and a half. Sometimes on these bigger ones, you need 2 or a little bit wider steel on, and get where I can start forging them. I've got some leaf springs I want to try to make some knives out of. And got a little bit of 52-100, or actually got bearings, and that's usually what they're made out of, but that don't mean that what I got is 52-100, but it moves like it. And you can't work it, you just can't work it cold. Tough stuff. 52-100 is. It don't like moving. So, yeah. The more light you have, the better off it is that you can see your angles there. So, I've still got some. Don't look like I've got any going this way right in here. I do back here a little bit, but I've got some deep scratches this way and this way, so get a viewpoint on this 80 grit. It won't be on for a while. Now, you can use lubricant such as window cleaner here at any point in time, but on these low grits, I like to keep them dry, because what you're doing is you're cutting and you're wanting all that metal off of there. You're not wanting it in suspension. Now, if you're going to do this up from, and I'll start using it probably around 220 grit, just a little bit, and then into the 400, is if you're wanting to polish it and polish it good and slick and smooth and trying to obtain a mirror finish on it, then yes, you want to lubricate it so you get those particles in suspension and any particles that come off there. So you're keeping that slurry going and keeping the whole thing cutting and moving and polishing, instead of it just like this jumping off and clogging up your lap or wherever you're. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to remove the major scratches in your work. Okay, just show you. This is done in real time, so I'm talking and yammering. Now, I don't know if you can see this or not. Let me just zoom it out. See if that won't help a little bit. Now, back here, I hadn't hardly touched it. Up here at the front, there's a couple of vertical lines right here, up here from the belt grinder, from the belt. And this is 80 grit. Flip, get the light on it. And you can't see yourself, but it's a real good satiny finish on it. So this is what it started with. this is what it is now, and it's just 4 or 5 minutes in with 80 grit. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to remove all of this rust, any scale, or any major uneven places or anything else. Use your fingers, close your eyes, use your fingers, because your fingers are not like your eyes. They don't, your eyes will lie to you a lot. So that's you get them optical illusions, and that means that your eyes is lying to your brain. So magic becomes magic. But if you could touch and feel that magic that lied to your eyes, you probably know when you would know that it was fake. So you can tell if you've got little dips, waves, pits, anything like that. So that's what I'm looking for, is to try to get all of these scratches done. Back here, take a little bit of coaxing. Yep. Now, you see when you crisscross, you can see a little area right here in the middle. You'd think the middle would be one of the quickest wore away if it was all right, but it's when you go from point to point, if you got any, it will be a dish right through there. So, and it will show you that, but you can also feel it. Got a big line going down the middle of it. Yep. Still a little bit places right there. I can, the opaque light. Get over top of it, you can't see it, but you can run your finger down in there and you feel just a little bit of a little bump there. Not much. Didn't have my gloves on, I could feel a lot better, but it's just too dry. And it dries you out. Okay. Yeah, I don't feel them now. Just a teeny tiny little bump. Yeah. Whew. 80 grit. There now. Just take a piece of this. I think it's 220 grit or 120 grit. Let's turn it half. Now, this little brass rod with an antler tip on it is made this just for this. Get this out just a little bit right there. Indexed in a hole. That over there. And then you take that. Yep. Okay, that looks pretty slick right there. It's pretty slick. It'll make it. It will give you an optical illusion if it's good and slick. This will. It'll actually look like it's digging in to the blade part of it. You get over here and look at it another way, and you feel it. You can't feel no groove, but you can see the reflection of this here. I don't know if that makes sense or not to you. Now, if you keep pulling on it, you can do that. You can't, but I was putting all my pressure to the back, not toward the bottom, to the back. So, feel it running on a square-ended rod on it. No dips, no catches, no nothing. So, that gets you a little bit right there. Now, going back with the 80 grit again. This will probably be my last piece of 80 grit on here. On this side. Okay, seems like all my scratches except for right down in here is all going this way. Now, when you take the time and put them all in the same way, that way you make sure that all the other grits and scratches are gone and or can be taken out in just a little bit. Now, you get in these grits right here, well, in all the grits, when you're doing this back and forth like this, you get on sometimes on your sanded marks you'll get fish hooks on it, and it's so if you hand sand them, you'll run across, you'll see them. Don't trust me on that. They're just little scratches that got a little J on them. And as try as you might, they're really, 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 really hard to keep from doing. Now, there's ways to to get rid of them, and ways to really be mindful that you don't get them too awful bad. And that's start up here and pull it all the same direction and change your sandpaper after every pass. Fortunately, I'm not Kyle Royer and for doing that. Now, he does that. There's a lot of them does that may or may not have sandpapers as sponsors. I do not. And if I want, I get them to 400 and I do the last step at 400 like that. And I try my best not to get them, and if I do get them and can't seem to get them out with continue hand sanding with the 400, then I'll take them to the buffer and try to buff them out. And don't think this ain't because it's mechanical over here that it's real easy to get them out with that. No, it's not. It's really not. This right here, other than playing with a loaded gun, is probably the most dangerous tool in your knife shop, because that will grab. You think it's got a board right there to keep it from being thrown, and to stop it, you know, if it gets stuck in there, down here or in here or sideways, something to help keep it from bouncing out so far. So that's what that is. So now this is 150 grit. Now I'll take the 220 grit and I'll start squirting a little bit of the window cleaner on it, but I'll show you how I got it, but not doing the other side first, but both got to be done. Now this piece right here is right there. Save it, go back with another piece of 220. Now we'll start doing this straight sanding. Do straight. Get the flats up here. Okay, now you take this, start pulling it to you. And wait as the scratches to flow with the knife. If it's sweeping up, sweep up. If it's down, do that way. Well, that's what I found works best for me. So you're trying to get the whole bevel the same way. You get all of the, you can get all of your previous marks out going straight. And it's easier to tidy up this top of your knife and your Picasso area right there with straight marks. So whenever you go flat like this, Okay, that's just bright enough, or I mean just enough to make out objects behind it or in front of it. And if I want just to keep on going with that 400 grit, that same piece of paper, and do it dry, it'd get, well, let's just go with this piece of paper here. Now, there it is. Okay. To that, what, 3 minutes worth of on the buff. You take it up to 400 grit, use the 400 grit till it clogs up, and keep using it, and it will shine it up or get it with the scratches in there, and then you can put it on the buffer, and then you've got a satin finish. And you've seen see how reflective it is already? Just after 2 or 3 minutes on, on the buffer. And that's it. That's a 400 grit satin finish. and that's about as high as I'll go up on that. I really don't like a shiny knife, but sometimes people do, other people do, but I don't care a whole lot for it. And that's just with the Green Rouge. I've had this, I don't know, a couple of years. That's one side done. Now I just got to do that about 60 more times. So well, anyway, I've let the cameras run real time. I hadn't turned anything off. I'll have to edit it down, but anyway, or it just bore everybody to death. It's like watching paint dry, watching hand sanding, but still, that's my technique. I go from 80 to 400, and in the higher grits, the 220 and 400, use a little lubricant there because you're wanting that slurry. You're wanting what the metal that comes off of this knife and what grit comes loose off of the sandpaper to be held in suspension to be used as more of a polishing compound. Doing that. Now, see, this is what it started as. Get right there, 220 grit with their vertical scratches. You change them to 400 horizontals, and it's top. Nothing's changed on the knife except for that one side being done. So I hope this helps anybody that needs a little help hand sanding. That's just the way I do it. You try to go across the grain, go across one side, and take, when you get to, make sure your previous scratches is out and gone. Go back the other way with a different grit and make sure all of them scratches is gone, and just keep going back and forth like that in the crosshatch. And then on your higher grits, you work them straight, work them till you follow the curve of your knife on the blade, and that will get any scratches, you know, with this. It won't just draw your eye to them. That's if they just straight out the end of it, not swirled to it, not contoured with it. And so, I mean, I could go a little higher on this with the buffer. Take about 20 minutes on here just to buff it, but usually 400 in etch is probably about what I do. Then I'll come back and do the 4/0 steel wool on it, and that helps polish it and everything else on the Hamon line. And I believe this one's 01, so I don't think it's going to have an Hamon line because I don't see one in it in the shiny. If you get a good Hamon line and get it in there, you'll see it no matter what. If you polish it, it'll polish. I've got one over there right now that's on that silver with the elk antler on it. That's a polished Hamon, and you can see the Hamon line on it. So it's not polished to a real high grit. Maybe it's a little bit more than this one. It's probably to a 600 grit than buffed, but you know. Well, anyway, I'd like to thank you for watching. Till the next time, it's Bobby Shields saying, God bless.